Hello, beautiful. Today, I want to share with you 6 habits that, when an older woman incorporates them into her life, make her simply irresistible. And no, I'm not talking about makeup, diets, or fashionable clothes. I'm talking about something deeper. Habits that connect you with yourself, that bring you back to your center, and that make others, without quite knowing why, feel drawn to your energy, your presence, and your essence. Because true beauty doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be present. So, if you're one of those women who's no longer willing to beg for love, hide, or fit in, if you're ready to recognize yourself as the irresistible woman you are, this video is for you. Let's dive in. First habit, she doesn't need external validation. A truly irresistible woman doesn't live seeking approval because she already approves of herself. She doesn't need to be told she looks beautiful, that she seems younger, or that she's worth it. And it's not that she doesn't enjoy compliments. Of course, they're nice, but her value doesn't depend on them. She knows who she is, what she's lived through, what she's overcome, and that inner certainty, that quiet confidence that doesn't require constant validation, is profoundly magnetic. Why? Because in a world where so many people feel empty without likes, attention, or external validation, a woman who feels enough without all that stands out. She becomes a presence that impacts without making a fuss. She doesn't get ready to be noticed. She gets ready because she loves looking in the mirror and feeling good about herself. She doesn't act to seek approval, but lives in alignment with what she believes, feels, and desires. And trust me, that shows. When she walks into a room, she doesn't try to be the center of attention, but she often is. Not because she's loud, but because her calm, confident, centered energy draws people in. People notice her, not just for how she looks, but for how it feels to be near her. And yes, that confidence might unsettle some, but it also fascinates, intrigues, and captivates. Because a woman's most attractive quality isn't her appearance, but how she feels about herself. And when a woman no longer needs to be told she's enough to believe it, when she knows it in her soul and reflects it in how she walks, talks, and looks, she becomes unforgettable. Not for what others see in her, but for what she has recognized in herself. Beautiful! Show the world your radiance. Comment below how you perceive yourself, and write luxury if you know you're unique and unforgettable. Come on, let your voice be heard. Second habit, she masters the art of conversation. An irresistible woman doesn't just know how to talk, she knows how to connect. And that's an art few people master, but she cultivates it naturally, not because she studied it, but because she's learned to be truly present when she communicates. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard or dominate a conversation to stand out. Her confidence is so serene, so genuine, that when she speaks, everyone listens. Not because she shouts, but because her words carry weight, intention, and soul. She knows a good conversation isn't a battle of egos or a chance to show off. She understands that conversing is a bridge, so she doesn't just talk about herself or try to impress with empty achievements or anecdotes. She listens, really listens, looks you in the eyes, nods, pauses, and asks questions with genuine interest. And when she responds, it's with an irresistible blend of intelligence, humor, and calm that isn't learned from a book, but cultivated through experience and authenticity. She has the ability to say a lot with few words, and sometimes her silence communicates more than 1,000 empty phrases. Talking with her isn't just talking. It's an experience because she makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. And in a world where everyone wants to be the protagonist, that's a rare gift. She also has a refined, subtle sense of humor that doesn't mock anyone, but lights up the conversation with spark and lightness. She pairs it with deep reflections, comments that make you think, that linger in your mind even after the conversation ends. There's something almost magnetic about a woman who masters the art of conversation effortlessly without scripts or masks. This way of communicating stems from self-awareness, respect, and empathy. She doesn't need to say much to impress. Sometimes a single phrase, delivered at the perfect moment, is enough to leave a lasting mark. Because beyond her words, her energy speaks, and that's not easily forgotten. A woman like this doesn't try to please, she simply is, and that's why she captivates. Subscribe now and join our community to shine as the luxury you are. Third habit, she takes care of her body not out of vanity, but out of self-love. An irresistible woman, especially an older woman, no longer takes care of her body to fit into a mold. She does it for a much deeper, more honest, more powerful reason, because she loves herself. She doesn't chase absurd standards or obsess over having the body she had at 20 because she's realized something many haven't yet discovered. Her body doesn't need to be perfect to be valuable. It only needs to be loved, respected, and listened to. That's why an irresistible woman chooses foods that nourish her, not because she's afraid of gaining weight, but because she wants to feel energized, vibrant, and mentally clear. She moves, walks, dances, does yoga, swims, not to burn calories, but to celebrate the miracle of being alive and moving freely. And she rests, too. She knows when to stop, when to disconnect, when to gift herself calm, because she's learned that rest is also part of self-care. And no, she doesn't take care of herself to please others or get ready to be liked. She does it because she enjoys liking herself. And it shows. It shows in the light in her eyes, in the way she walks with a steady stride, in how her skin reflects health more than perfection. There's something about her that can't be bought or faked, an authentic connection with her own body. And that, dear, is profoundly attractive. Because when a woman takes care of herself out of love, not obligation, she projects an energy of balance, acceptance, and inner peace that captivates. She doesn't seek to be loved for her figure. She already loves herself, and that creates a confidence that leaves an impact. And the most beautiful thing, when you care for yourself out of love, you don't just change yourself. You inspire others to love themselves more, too. So yes, a woman who has learned to care for her body not as punishment, but as an act of love radiates a kind of beauty that doesn't fade with age. It intensifies. Fourth habit, she doesn't compete with other women. She honors them. A truly irresistible woman doesn't engage in comparison games. She doesn't need to because she's made peace with herself. She's understood that she doesn't need to dim her light for others to shine, nor dim others' light to feel more secure. Because another woman's brilliance isn't a threat, it's a reflection. And so, instead of competing, she honors. She honors the beauty, intelligence, elegance, strength, and vulnerability of other women. She doesn't feel lesser when she sees someone beautiful or intimidated when someone else stands out. On the contrary, she celebrates it. She has the emotional maturity to understand that every woman is unique, and that uniqueness is what makes us powerful. She knows we're not here to compete with each other, but to inspire, support, and remind one another of our worth. And that attitude, rare yet radiant, makes her a magnet not just for men, but for other women too. Being near her doesn't feel threatening. It feels like a safe space. A space where you can be yourself without feeling judged, where you can shine without fear of sparking jealousy, where you can share without worrying that your vulnerability will be used against you. This woman doesn't need to win some invisible contest of who's more beautiful, younger, or successful, because she's won something far greater, peace with herself. And it shows. It shows in how she speaks kindly of other women, even when they're not around. In how she gives sincere compliments without expecting anything in return. In how she guides, uplifts, listens, and supports without rivalry, envy, or hidden agendas. A woman like this inspires respect, trust, and admiration because she doesn't compete. She builds. She doesn't divide. She unites. And that doesn't just make her attractive. It makes her powerful. In a world that has so often pitted women against each other, she chooses a different path. Sisterhood. And the best part? Her energy is contagious. Her way of seeing other women with love, not comparison, opens doors, tears down walls, and creates community. So yes, a woman who honors others not only earns the admiration of those around her, she becomes an emotional leader, a source of light. And that, dear, is one of the most sublime forms of beauty. Fifth habit, she has clear boundaries and doesn't negotiate them. An irresistible woman has learned one of life's most important lessons. Putting herself first isn't selfish, it's self-love. And that starts with boundaries. She doesn't say yes just to please others, doesn't accept what doesn't serve her just to avoid making others uncomfortable, and certainly doesn't betray herself to meet others' expectations. because she's understood that every time you say yes to yourself, even if it means saying no to someone else, you're honoring your worth. She has clear boundaries, knows what she deserves, what she'll tolerate, and what she'll never allow again. And she sets them not from anger, but from calm. She doesn't need to justify herself, over-explain, or argue to defend them. She simply establishes and upholds them. And that doesn't make her harsh, it makes her free. Free to choose her relationships, free to let go of what diminishes her, free to surround herself with people who respect her, not drain her. A woman like this doesn't let herself be manipulated by guilt or sold love disguised as control. She knows healthy love doesn't demand extreme sacrifices or compromises to her dignity. And she's realized that often the people most upset by your boundaries are the ones who benefited most from you not having them. And the most powerful thing? This firmness doesn't come from pride or defensiveness. It comes from a deep place, absolute respect for herself. And that energy, that inner confidence that doesn't need to shout but won't be walked over, is intensely attractive. Because when a woman respects herself, she inspires respect. When she knows what she wants and what she doesn't, she sparks admiration. And when she's able to walk away from what harms her, even if it hurts, she becomes unstoppable. A woman with boundaries is a woman who is healed, who no longer confuses love with sacrifice or attention with affection, and who understands that her peace is worth more than any fleeting validation. You feel it when you talk to her, when she looks at you, when she makes decisions. She doesn't ask permission to be who she is, and that, without a doubt, makes her unforgettable. Because there's nothing sexier than a woman who respects herself. Subscribe now and join our community to shine as the luxury you are. 6th habit, she has a life she loves, with or without a partner. An older, irresistible woman isn't waiting for the love of her life to start living it. She's already living it. She has routines that nourish her, pleasures that make her smile, dreams that still excite her. She has moments of calm, expansion, and joy, and none of it depends on anyone else. Because she's learned, perhaps after a long journey, that her life doesn't revolve around someone coming to complete her, but around her own truth. That truth is made of simple, sacred details: a quiet coffee, a leisurely walk, a song that gives her goosebumps, a project that sets her soul on fire. She doesn't need a partner to feel alive. She's already alive, already ignited. And when love comes, if it comes, she doesn't see it as salvation, but as a compliment, something that can add to her life, but not something that needs to fill her, because she's already full of herself. This kind of woman doesn't look for halves because she's not half a person. She's whole, complete, rounded. And the most beautiful thing, that fullness doesn't repel, it attracts. Because deep down, we all want to be with someone who doesn't need us, but chooses us. Someone who can be happy without you, but decides to share their happiness with you. She stopped waiting and started living. She doesn't postpone herself, doesn't save herself for later, doesn't freeze in anticipation of something or someone coming to rescue her. And that energy, that rare, powerful emotional independence, makes her irresistible. It shows in how she moves, talks, and looks. There's no anxiety in her presence, no rush, no desperate need to be loved, because she loves herself. And when a woman loves herself, she creates a life that feels beautiful, with or without a partner. A life that sustains her, fills her, honors her. A life that doesn't need validation from a relationship status on social media or whether someone shares her bed. And what happens then? She attracts a different kind of relationship. Relationships where you don't need permission to be yourself, where peace isn't negotiated, where you don't lose yourself to be with someone else. Relationships that add, not subtract. Because a woman like this doesn't love from lack, but from abundance. Not from fear of being alone, but from the freedom to choose well who she wants to be with. And that is profoundly desirable. Because true attractiveness isn't about how much someone needs you, but about how complete and luminous their inner world is. And a woman who has a life she loves radiates a beauty that doesn't wither with time. If you saw yourself in these habits, trust me, you're already irresistible. Because true attraction isn't about age or appearances, but something much deeper, the energy with which you inhabit yourself. no matter how much time has passed or the changes you've experienced. If these habits resonate with you, it's because you're already on the path to your best self. And that path is the most beautiful of all because it's about embracing who you are, recognizing your power, and celebrating your authenticity. Ultimately, what makes you truly irresistible is your connection with yourself, your ability to stay true to your values, and the way you radiate your light. That's what attracts the best in life. When you live from your truth, when you stop seeking validation outside and become the woman you've always wanted to be, you won't just be more attractive, you'll be unstoppable. Remember, there are no magic formulas or hidden secrets, just the willingness to be yourself without fear, without others' expectations. And in that process, you inevitably become a woman who inspires, uplifts, and attracts the best in every aspect of her life. And this video is useless if you still haven't discovered the 9 psychological keys to make people see you as a luxury, not an option.